Hey there, howdy, welcome. My name is Carolyn Maureen, the podcast queen, and this is my very first ever episode. Some of you may be thinking, isn't it a little audacious to crown yourself the podcast queen after only one episode? To which I say, no, not at all. I want to say thank you for tuning in today, whatever your reasoning may be. You may be wondering, what the heck is Carolyn up to? What is her life? I want to know. I'm so curious. Or maybe you're a friend who wants to be supportive and also curious, what the heck is Carolyn up to? And what is she going to blab on about for an hour in a podcast? Well, whatever your reason is, welcome and thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy. My first guest is a friend who I've known since high school, and she was back visiting for the holidays, and she graciously offered to help me get this thing started. And wherever this podcast goes, whether I continue this podcast, who knows? Regardless, we had a really good time making it, and so no regrets there. So my guest is Liz Cooper. Yes, you heard that right. The Liz Cooper of Liz Cooper and the Stampede. For those of you who don't know, Liz is a Nashville-based musician making wonderful music that you can find on all major streaming services. She has recently been on tour with Phosphorescent and is beginning her first ever headlining tour starting in January. So be sure to check her out. And I will honestly say, you have never been to a show like that of Liz Cooper and the Stampede. They will melt your mind and then put it back together and then melt it again and then make it into a figurine that you can burn as a candle. And as you watch this candle melt, it'll melt your brain again because the candle is your brain. Anyways, back to the podcast. Today, it's not just about music. On this episode, Liz and I talk about everything under the sun, from popping zits to Jodie Foster to starting a cult. It's all here for your enjoyment. So without further ado, welcome.
Podcast queen, if you know what I mean. I'm a podcast queen, if you know what I mean. I'm a podcast queen, if you know what I mean. We're a podcast queen. A podcast queen. I'm a podcast queen, if you know what I mean. I'm a podcast queen, if you know what I mean. If you know what I mean. Know what I mean.
Well, hey there, Liz. How's it going?
I'm doing very well, Carolyn. How are you?
I'm just dandy. I actually, I have been having issues. We were talking about this earlier with my skin lately, and I've definitely been picking way too much at my face.
Yeah, it's driving me really insane.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm the type of person, if I feel some sort of bump or like blemish on my face, I can't help myself but to pick at it and all of a sudden just like touch it. And then it gets worse.
Of course.
And then it gets completely out of control. And then the next thing you know, I have a twin growing out of my chin.
I have a twin.
I have a twin growing out of my chin.
She got a twin out of a chin.
A twin out of a chin.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I feel you. I find it really hard not to pick at my face. I feel like it's a common problem because it is so addicting. And, like, popping as it is one of the most satisfying things you can do in life.
I mean, it's, like, right there below orgasm.
Some would say it's even above. Really?
Yeah, right there above.
Oh my god, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
So you're headed back to Nashville tomorrow.
Yeah.
What are you most looking forward to and least looking forward to?
I'm most looking. Oh,
there we go.
I'm most forward.
She's most forward.
She's most forward. I'm really looking forward to sleeping in my own bed, which I haven't slept in 2 months, and I'm excited to see Daniel and Scott and Lizzie Bat and
We got a full name there.
I know.
Fully named. Name dropping. She's name dropping.
Lizzie Bat. She's like my sister. She's my sister from another mister.
Also a musician.
She's the same height as me. She has reddish hair and freckles. It's amazing because we don't have to like, you know, I feel like I've been tall-ish my whole life, and I've got to kind of, sometimes I'm like, it makes me have bad posture because I'm like talking.
You're always talking down to people.
I'm always talking down to people.
I mean, now you're a big rock star. You're always talking down to people.
It's just part of the job, you know, talking down to people. And so I really enjoy talking to somebody at my own level that also talks down to people. So, you know, it's like, we really just, it's like, it just really works out as a friendship, you know? It's just like, we were friends because we're the same height and we both have freckles.
That's a good thing to relate on. I feel like I'm such an average height. Like I'm like 5'5", 5'6", that I'm just it's just always, that's never really been something I had to.
Yeah. Well, your posture is impeccable, you know.
Really? Do you think so?
I think you have good posture.
Thank you. It's actually something I've always like worked on. I remember in gym class in middle school, I can't remember my teacher's name, but like she talked about posture one day, and it really stuck with me. And I was like, I'm gonna have, and it is really something that like you do have to work on.
Yeah.
And
give it to me straight, Carolyn. What do you think of my posture?
It's not something I've thought about for you.
Okay. That's good. I would rather go unnoticeable than you be like, well, I mean,
if you have really bad posture, I would probably be like, I think it'd be more noticeable, but I guess it's not like, I haven't noticed that you have really good posture either.
Right.
So.
Well, I will take it. I'm somewhere in the average range.
Yeah. But it is an important thing. And babies have perfect posture, fun fact.
Perfect posture.
Perfect. They're born, you learn to slouch.
Jeez. And we're also just always looking at our phones.
True.
And we're just like, our heads are, I mean, we're going to have little humpbacks.
We're all going to have humpbacks, and we're all going to have thumb arthritis.
Yeah.
That's something I feel like, I wonder if there's ways to combat that. I also feel like it's something that you just kind of have to accept is like, when you get older, just, you know, stuff stops working and things get uncomfortable. But also, I think that we need to also look at I feel like this is coming from someone who's 24, you know, it's like, oh, what do you know? Of course I don't know anything. And I openly admit I don't know anything. But I also think that as young people, we can value certain things of like old age. Because I know I don't value, like, you know, when you're just like, you feel like your parents just like don't get it. You're like, oh, you don't understand. And you're like, but you got years of wisdom.
Yeah.
You know, I think I'm, you know, had experiences in the past.
They're just different than
years.
What your parents have done. You know, everybody has different experiences. You can't necessarily tell people how it is because it's like they have a different path than you and they've done different things than you. Although, you know, I mean, you do have a general wisdom being older because you've been around longer and you've kind of been through the ringer. So, you know, there are pros and cons to getting old.
Definitely. I guess to say it's just like that everyone has valid experiences that they've learned from, and sometimes I don't think I give enough credit to like the fact that my parents have lived 60 years on this earth and I'm just about a third of that.
Yeah.
So kudos to you guys.
Kudos to the cougars and silver foxes.
Hey.
Like, I don't know. You basically were in Colombia for what? How many months?
I was there for 3 months total, and I spent most of my time, or the majority of my time, so like for a month I was in the city, or like month and a week I was in Cali, and that was the most I spent in one place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you can't tell who's talking right now, it's Carolyn Maureen, the podcast queen.
Yeah.
Her mom and dad say that and we all our voices have a similar timbre to them.
There's
a certain sarcasm. And
sort of, I call it like there's resting bitch face. I call it resting, like for me, I feel like I have resting bitch voice. But like, my dad, like when anytime they'll listen to like my music, they'll be like, my dad will be like, you still sound too much like Liz. And I'm just like, is this a bad thing? I mean, like, she's pretty successful, but it's pretty funny. And also, like, I feel like I listen to your music all the time. I'm your biggest fan, by the way. And and so I feel like, singing along, you're in my basement, and no one else is around. No.
Yeah. It's true. I'm staring at a can of polyacrylic and a book that says Cases and Materials on Constitutional Law.
Yeah. A dusty bookshelf. But yeah, I'm like, I mean, the amount of time I feel like I've spent singing your songs and like, yeah, listening to your music it's a long time. So, and like, of course, when you sing along, you always try to emulate who you're singing. So it goes,
So it goes.
If I sound like Liz Cooper,
she must be.
Then I don't know what I'm gonna do. Just gonna give up now. No, I'm just kidding. It's okay.
When we do this, when we travel to different places, you start talking like you're from that place, and that's just, I get a lot of joy from that. It's a small thing, but to me, the small things are huge. And when I'm like in New York, I'm from New York,
When you're in New York,
you're in New York.
I bet some New Yorkers listen to this like, that doesn't sound like New York at all.
That doesn't sound like us at all.
That doesn't sound like New York. I've
Yeah,
never heard a worse
really terrible
New York accent. No, I feel like you're doing fine. I feel like though accents are hard to, I mean, they're so hard to be like really good at.
Yeah.
But I feel like they're like, but a lot of times like people don't know accents well enough for you to be bad at them. Like, you know what I mean? Like I could come and say, oh, this is what a New Zealand accent sounds like, having spent time there, and everyone would be like, oh, wow, that's pretty good. And then like people from New Zealand would be like, you sound Australian, and I try my best, but and I feel like also there's so much pressure attached to accents too, because people, I don't know. Also, I feel like you don't want to seem like you're mocking people, right? But for me, it's never like it's like never a mocking thing. Yeah, I'm like, it's just,
I want to be like you.
Yeah, I have that, especially with like Southern accents. When I'm around people that have Southern accents, I like slip into a Southern accent, and I think it's because I was born in Texas, and although I was only there for 5 months, that Southern blood runs deep. It runs deep.
I do that definitely. Going back to the wherever I am, it's what I sound like. But yeah, when I'm in Nashville, it's where I live, and a lot of Southern people are around there, and they're from all over the South.
You're saying there's Southern people in Nashville, in the South?
I'm very shocked. We're in the Bible Belt. There are Southern people.
Nashville is considered the Bible Belt.
It is.
Okay. Then you look at a
God-fearing country.
God.
I feel like when I first moved down to Nashville, I just started meeting all these people from Kentucky, and I'm not quite sure what kind of accents I've picked up, but this is like my Southern kind of accent.
Yeah, I would say
a touch of Jodie Foster.
Jodie Foster comes on strong right now. Like Jodie I feel Foster. Like you can't just. For me, she is a part of who I am, and so if I sound like Jodie Foster, I sound like Jodie Foster sometimes.
Did you know that Jodie Foster speaks French?
I want to hear Jodie Foster speak French.
It's beautiful.
I bet she would sound just great. That sounds like my worst French Jodie Foster.
She sounds very French. I watched a Jodie Foster, like a quick question thing the other night.
Recently? Or?
Oh yeah, like 2 nights ago.
Was this inspired by Jodie Foster?
Well, I was scrolling down Facebook, just rotting my brain. As I do. And one of the those videos just popped up, and I think because our phones are always listening to us,
of course,
Jodie Foster, a quick interview with her popped up, which freaks me out, Carolyn.
They're listening. I mean, we're making them listen right now.
They're everywhere. But I learned a lot about Jodie Foster, and she's a very intelligent, badass bitch. It's inspired me. I need to get back on my French game. I started learning French at the beginning of the tour. And
it's a hard language.
It is, and I was inspired.
All languages are difficult. But...
Yeah, I mean, I've always wanted to learn a language. I mean, in high school, I did German because that's my background. But I also am like, I've never really given I was 16, and I mean, you don't want to do anything when you're 16. So, like, last fucking thing I want to do is learn German. And so I never gave it a chance. And so now I was like, I need to create a routine for myself, especially while I'm out on the road, because there's just nothing to do. And I mean, there's everything to do, but nothing to do. And
Midwestern, there we go.
The Midwest. Yeah,
there's
I was really studying up in those Midwest drives. But yeah, I've been doing an hour a day, and I've just been...
That's cool.
Using a couple different apps and watching some movies.
Yeah, watching the movies, I feel like is, like, so many people I've spoken to that speak really incredible English. They're all like, yeah, just watch a lot of movies, and they're all in English. And watching dubbed movies is the absolute worst thing.
Yeah. So you gotta watch, like, the real deal. I found this movie. I really enjoyed it. It was called Lolo, and I thought it was really funny. The humor was it was dark humor, and I'm a big fan of that. And it was just so quick. I felt okay. I was, like, picking up on certain things here and there, but the subtitles were helpful.
Oh yeah, you gotta have subtitles.
Yeah, you gotta have them
because that's the way you learn for sure. Like, you know, you reading as they go along. I found a show called Baby. I think it was advertised to me, and maybe some people watch it. This is like the only Netflix thing that I've watched probably like completely in the last 2 years, because I don't really watch Netflix. So if anyone wants to, talks about Netflix, that's the only thing I can relate on is Baby and End of the Fucking World, which I've watched both of those. They're just one season.
I've never seen either of them.
I think you would really like them. I think End of the Fucking World is dark, but it has this sort of like, just like disillusionment feel to it of just like nothing really matters, and I enjoyed that perspective, and it made me like want to go on some weird fucked up adventure, not kill a dude.
Sure.
Oh, you didn't see it, but yeah, like
yeah.
There's another, the Baby one is in Italian, and it's funny because I watched it with the subtitles. I don't know like any Italian except for maybe a word here and there, but like it is very similar to Spanish.
Yeah. And
when I was watching that, I felt like I understood more things than when I started watching basically the Spanish equivalent of Baby, which is called Elite. Really good. I need to finish it. I don't have Netflix though, so if anyone wants to throw me a password and a username, please.
Yeah, same. I need one.
Yeah, and then you can tell people that you gave Liz Cooper she watches your Netflix, and you can see what she's watching, and then you can publish it to the world and make millions.
Make fun of me. Also, give me your HBO.
Liz needs HBO and Netflix. I feel like Netflix is enough for me. But yeah, I felt like I understood more of the Italian one than I did the Spanish one, even though I speak Spanish. But I didn't learn. It was like in Spain, so I don't know Spanish. Like, I know more like Colombian Spanish, I would say, is what I'd be best at speaking, because that's where I learned it. So like,
right.
But yeah, learning languages
different accents.
Is fun. They do, and I mean, it's like different dialects, and like, it's fun to learn a language. I feel like everyone should even just try the basics of, especially I feel like Spanish, really because it is like there's so many Spanish speakers in the States that like it's so important to just be able to like relate to people on like a different level, and that's what I feel like language opens up doors for, is being able to just connect and see another perspective, and just I think connection is like the biggest one.
Connection is everything.
Connection is
it's
everything.
The way of life, you know. Connection.
Do you feel like growing up not in a, like, is your family, like, would you consider your family like a musical family, or would you more so?
They love music, and I don't know. I would say I grew up in a family that would seek out hobbies surrounding music, and it was just the way. I think like my dad has always been that type of person to like really, when he falls in love with something, he just like really goes for it. And so when he saw that I was, interested in music, I mean, it was different because at the time I was, I feel like, this was when I was playing golf, and that was like a job basically. And also, I mean, it just took up my whole life, and so I don't really remember how much time I spent playing the guitar, but I mean, I do remember that it was like I loved it. It's just like incredible to.
When did you first pick it up? What age?
I was 15 or 16, and my cousin, he had a guitar, and he had guitar tabs. He was learning some song, and I can't remember what it was, but I saw it was just like the numbers on the strings, and I was like, oh, I think I could do this. And I was just like very attracted to music. I have always been surrounded by it. But yeah, I took the tabs home and I fiddled around with it, and then I learned the song. I just was like, I kind of like started to figure out like the numbers, but I would just kind of take it from there with my ear. And I would, if I knew the song, then I could like just learn it pretty immediately. And so my ear is really trained at this point to like find different sounds. But yeah, I don't know, my dad grew up playing drums, and he was really into just like punk music when he was a young adult. And my mom likes all the new wave stuff and like classic rock and classical music, and a lot, the jam bands. Not so much into like the like we're heady and we're like taking fucking ecstasy at these concerts, but like the Allman Brothers and the Grateful Dead. And so I just started listening to what they were listening to because I am an only child. and of course I listened to like Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera and like all of like the pop music, and I was like obsessed with Nelly, and I just really loved all that music, and my parents hated it, and I would always feel really guilty when I was listening to that music. And I was like, oh no, it's awful, I'm doing something bad. But I, it's like, it's when parents are like, don't do this, you're like, I have to do this. So, I was just like taking in music all the time. And, my mom had a Taylor guitar laying around the house that she had from college. And, that was the first guitar that I started to play on. And they put me in lessons, and I never liked any of that stuff because it just felt like homework whenever they were like, go home and learn this. And I was just like, I really don't care to. Or like piano, I never gravitated to the piano, but I liked the guitar, and I liked playing drums because it was available and easily accessible for me to play any of those. And so I would just play Beatles songs on the drums and the guitar, and then I learned, just like Led Zeppelin and the Eagles, and then I learned stuff like John Mayer and Jack Johnson and Ziavi. I played that song in the talent show. Ziavi, this Asian chick that like sings. I don't know. But it was the Honeybee song.
Oh, I thought you wrote that song.
Hell no.
I thought that
the entire time of life?
Yes, the entire time of life, and that was,
Christ.
you were what, like in a sophomore, junior at that time? Yeah, I've thought that since then that you wrote that Honeybee song. And I've always been waiting for you to bring it back because I love it. It's a great song. It is a great song.
Yeah, it's not my work.
When you were talking about like, your parents hating that song, it was making me think of like, I wonder what, if either of us have niños and like what music they're gonna bring home, and we're just be like, this is absolute trash, and like won't want to hear it. But like I wonder how it's gonna be, and like what music is even gonna be
terrible like, to us,
or what is gonna be around. Like it's so hard.
Oh
like
my God.
I just wonder like where is, because like music is it's so expansive, it could go anywhere. Nice. And so whereas this is these are unanswerable questions really, but fun to ponder.
It's a very fun thought. I will probably
you'll most definitely be a part of it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not gonna be judgmental, but I'm gonna be like I'm gonna like really be like, you should listen to this. I'm gonna be like really excited for them to listen to certain things that I feel like have really affected me, or feel like if they're going through I feel like music is a language sometimes to me, where I'm like, oh, if you're feeling this way, I listened to this album and it helped me a lot, or just like I like doing that, and because I do think it helps. And I've worn out plenty of albums depending on how I'm feeling, but I think it would be fun to just like show that to my future children.
Wherever they are.
Whoever you are.
Whoever you are.
Yeah, I really hope they're not listening to like, I don't know, they can listen to whatever the hell they want, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those things where you just gotta let people explore what they're gonna...
If it's annoying the shit out of me, I'm gonna let them know and be like, this song is awful, because I just can't sit there and listen to like whatever. I don't know what the future children are gonna listen to.
Yeah. I think, do you feel like, I don't know if I want to ask this question. I was going to ask if you feel like the future, like you feel like the future of music, but like, you obviously see yourself doing music for your life, and I don't know. I don't really think I have a question at the moment. I'm excited to see like, I'm excited to see where everybody kind of ends up, or like one thing that I've been really thinking about a lot lately is all the friends that I've made over the years, and just kind of how cool it is that everyone takes a different path and everyone takes a different trajectory, and how like amazing that is. And to like think about so many people that I know that have done really cool stuff. It just, I don't know. It's interesting to think about to me.
It is. It's really cool to see where people end up, because you're all starting from the same place. It's like where you're growing up with your friends. It's like we're all doing the same thing and we're all in the same place, but we're all very different, because it's like none of us chose to be together. It's just like by way of school or sport or club or whatever it may be. It's like you're the same neighborhood or whatever. It's like we're all starting where we're starting, and then it's just really interesting to see how individually we all grow, and like just where that takes you. It's just like the path of life. And if I don't think I would have ever thought I'd be doing what I'm doing now as like a kid who lived down the street from where we are right now. I'd be like, really? I don't know. I just would have never ever thought that this is what I'd be doing, and I'm so glad it is.
I'm sure your past self, I like to think about like what my past self would think. Like if 12-year-old me met me right now, would they be like, whoa, like you're so cool? And like I wonder how that would just be like, oh wait, like I have done some stuff since I was 12, and like, or like would they be like, you're a disappointment, I don't want to grow up to be you? And
I don't know. I think we would just be like shocked. I don't know. I think we'd be shocked in a good way for both of us.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of traveling, and
my future and past self, my present self, yeah. Like, speaking like you as a group.
Yeah. My past self and my current self are really excited to see what my future self is going to do.
It's fun to learn. I think I always try to tell people when they want to pick up an instrument to just like see it as a toy, and like especially because the word play is like to play, like to play a guitar is just like, it's like you're playing a game, like you're chilling with your friends playing ball. I just have things running over there.
Okay,
so.
good.
Yeah. Yeah, but and like I feel like that's a good way. Like instead of seeing it as like, okay, what chords do I play? And I think learning those basics is obviously very helpful. But I think sometimes people could just like pick it up and kind of find what sounds good to them. And when you were talking earlier about like how you maybe like going to lessons just didn't jive with you, I think a big thing is like obviously you probably knows, but like finding someone that can teach the way that you can learn.
Oh yeah.
And like I feel like it'd be cool to have more, because I've always been an ear person. Like I've always just heard rather than like notes. I feel like I was good enough at like hearing that I didn't need to read notes, and
sure,
maybe I could learn it, but it's I don't know. So I feel like finding more people that kind of teach the ear. I'm sure they exist already, but it's just a matter of like finding.
I think it's just like teaching yourself how to use that ear and how to listen. Just like listening to so many different kinds of music, and you're just kind of like I don't know, you're just paying attention to different things and how they're recorded and why certain things are mixed one way and another, and it's, I don't know, it's really cool to see how you develop with like just like, I don't know, starting with just hearing, and you kind of would like recognize songs, but then after a long time of just kind of playing the guitar, it becomes very familiar to you, so you just kind of know exactly where to go on the guitar, even if you don't know what you're doing. You just know it because you just know where to go.
Yeah.
I feel like that happens to me a lot. A lot of people always send me messages on Instagram and stuff about asking for like chords or of certain songs, and I'm like, oh fuck.
Yeah, like,
I seriously don't know. I mean, maybe I generally know what I'm doing, but I mean, I wrote all this on the acoustic guitar, so I'm just kind of going off of what I, learned or just did.
But also, I feel like that is kind of a good thing. Is like people can realize like, oh, I don't need to know chords to play the guitar. Like I can be a big rock star like Liz Cooper and not need to know, every chord that I play.
Exactly.
But also, it's so impressive when people can be like, oh, that's a D minor diminished 7, and I'm just like, whoa, like slow down there, fancy pants. But also, like that's.
I mean, you learn that,
cool.
like
Yeah.
Usually, you learn what all that stuff is, and I would know how to do it just because I don't play just, my music, and so like when I go into these other things where I'm playing other people's music, I have to generally know what that stuff is, because it's like, it's not you, and you're just like,
yeah, for sure,
listening. But that's the other thing, like listening to what everybody's doing and staying out of the way, but like being present where you need to be present.
I like that. Yeah, that's an interesting thing, because I've like, try to play other people's songs and they'll give me something, and it's something that like I started to learn, like learned as a kid basics of like music theory, but started to learn more of that in New Zealand, and just I'm like, oh, this is cool, like I really like learning about this.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun to be like, oh, so I can give me a E minor and I'll play it up here. Yeah, it's fun. I like, one thing I feel like I really learned when I was there about music is just like how expansive it is. And I feel like you've talked about this before, or mentioned it when I was writing that thing for you.
Yeah.
Of just like the universe kind of just like opens up in front of you, because like for me it was seeing that you can change all the settings to just tweak the sound on the guitar, and there's just so many different infinite ways to do that and like play with it, and it's just, I like how expansive it is, how exponential music feels. Like I feel like it's, again, the universe blossoming out in front of me.
It does. It's pretty incredible. I will say the last maybe minute of that, I blacked out in a way.
It's okay. You looked a little bit like gone, and I was like, either like I'm pretty sure she's heard or thought these things before. Like either she's so amazed at what I'm saying, which felt really nice, or she's just She's gone. She's lost in the universe somewhere.
She's lost.
Yeah, she's in that exponential, universal explosion.
I'm in the wine haze.
She's in the wine haze. So
I'm in the wine haze. Similar.
I get a lot of people telling me that I look like other people.
Yeah.
It happens fairly often. Most of the time they tell me, you know, it's some Victoria's Secret model, and I'm like, of course it is.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
Yeah. Other times they say I look like Russell Brand, which I'll take.
I've never noticed that before.
Yeah, I feel like you're never going to look at me the same. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, and then in terms of like animal lookalikes, my friend says I look like, I think it's a pit bull.
I can see it.
Yeah, which I'm like, okay, cool, I'll take it.
Yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah, so
people say that I'm Phoebe from Friends and
Gwyneth Paltrow for sure.
Gwyneth Paltrow, maybe a young Meryl Streep.
Oh, rock on. That's a good one.
I will take all of them.
That's beautiful.
And then, I don't know. I've never been able to identify my animal self. What am I like? What's my spirit animal?
You look like a dinosaur to me.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if that's your spirit animal, because I don't say, like, I wouldn't say a pit bull is
prehistoric.
I wouldn't say a pit bull is my spirit animal, but I would say, like, you've always looked like a little bit of a dinosaur to me.
Okay.
But, like, in a way, like, in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're a beautiful dinosaur.
Well, you're a beautiful pit bull. So.
Thanks, Liz.
Yeah.
But, like, spirit animals, I would say I'm a cat. And, like, I know that like, that's, you know, everyone's like, either I'm a cat or I'm a dog. But, like, I'm not saying I have to be a house cat. But what I like about cats is they're a little bit more, like, reserved and discerning about who they're going to, like, let into their inner circle.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is important, you know? And I just like that they're a little bit, I feel like they're a little bit misunderstood. I feel like they're, like, the misunderstood emo child. A little bit.
I get it.
And I feel like they're also magical. Like, they have a magical, like, kind of mysterious quality about them, which I really love. And I think I'm magical and mysterious. So,
I feel a similar way, but also not. I'm like a friendly cat. We've talked about this.
We have?
Maybe not.
I think we talked about how my mom thinks that I'm a cat and that my sister is a dog person. Like,
yes.
Like, we are,
Personality-wise.
Personality-wise, like, she's like, Kate's my dog, you know? She, like, always is, like, jumping on her when she gets home and, like, all that good, and, like, she's like, I'm so happy to see you! And I'm just in the corner, like, nah, I'm taking a nap, you know?
Yeah.
All, like, moody, and if I don't feel like, you know, talking that day.
You better not talk to Carolyn if she doesn't feel like talking to you.
Because you're great. I'm gonna be a cat about it, but yeah. I would say you're a friendly cat.
A friendly cat.
I see that.
A twitchy friendly cat.
You think you're twitchy?
Sometimes. I feel like I'm scattered.
I feel that.
But I think it just depends on the day and what's happening, and you know, sometimes I'm present, sometimes I'm scattered. I'm human.
She's human. You heard it here on
Carolyn
Maureen, the podcast queen.
Marilyn Maureen, the podcast queen.
Marilyn Maureen. Yeah. Marilyn Maureen.
Carolyn Maureen, the podcast.
Liz is human. Yeah, you heard it here. You heard it here first. Breaking news. We're going to break this news story.
Breaking news and breaking bread.
That sounds... If that isn't a start of some, like, religious, like, news show,
right,
then we need to start that right now.
Well, I've always really pictured myself as some sort of a cult leader, you know? That's why I've been doing all of this all along. I've been tricking
preaching
people
to the crowd
for years
Mm-hmm.
So now, I finally have this following quotations of people that, like, you know, they're just like, they're like, wow, I really believe in what she says, and it's because I'm a cult leader now. But I'm not like a strict cult leader. I'm like a cool cult leader.
I feel,
you know? I'm like, do your thing.
I've been...
There are no meetings here.
Like, saying the same, except for your concerts, I guess, would be your meetings where you preach your good word to the people.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. I've been saying something similar, and I started a religion, and it's called solutionism. And the basic premise is that every problem has a solution. But that's not to say that the solution is going to cause more problems.
Right.
So it's kind of one of those things where, like, everything has a solution, but nothing has a solution. Mm-hmm. It's very kind of pointless. But I started it, and yeah, it's one of those things where I've always felt like it'd be easy to start a cult.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds really, like, kind of shitty, but
yeah,
it kind of is.
They've always fascinated me. Yeah. I've always been very, like, I don't know. It's like people have, I don't know, if whatever the, like, this person has that's, like, making all of these people want to stop what they're doing and go to them and just, like, follow them on this journey. It's a cult leader. It's weird.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying.
And it's also insane. It's like whatever that connection is that these people are feeling, it sounds incredible. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of strange to think about, like, people that are in, like, I think music especially is one of those things where, like, people do feel like they're a part of something.
Right.
And, like, there is some sense of ownership when it comes to your musical taste. And, like, you know when you, like, show people a band and there's that thing of, like, oh, I heard them first kind of thing. And it's, like, what is the, like, it's kind of a weird thing. That always kind of just, like, I never knew how to feel about it. And I'm not saying that I haven't been one of those people that's like, oh, yeah, I knew this band before everyone else, because I've totally been that person. Yeah. But, like, yeah, thinking about it, I'm just like, it's kind of weird. Like, why do we feel this ownership over someone's work? And they're like, because, yeah, I don't know. I think there's a bunch of reasons why, but it's not exactly logical to do. I don't know.
It's just kind of, it's a weird territorial thing that we have no ownership over, and it's whatever this connection is. It's because I think you find such a deep connection with whatever music you're listening to or whatever artist you've stumbled upon, that it's like only you and this artist will understand, or like you're like, oh, this is like you connected, you know, going back to what we were talking about earlier in the car. So what we were talking about earlier in the car, to everyone that's listening, was people way back in the day, before music was really recorded, people would listen to music, as they still do, in a communal setting. They wouldn't listen by themselves, and the ones that did were, like, mentally disturbed. So now it's the norm to
considered mentally disturbed.
They were considered mentally disturbed. So now we're all mentally disturbed
because we all listen to music alone.
Yeah, and so now it's like we have this relationship with what we're listening to, and it's like only us. It's like everybody, you know, it's so many people, and that's what makes it amazing.
It's interesting how personal music can be, especially like these. I don't know. I mean, I know I don't live in other times, but yeah, it has become a really personal thing that people feel like. I know, like, when it's almost a nervous thing to, like, put on music in front of people you don't know their taste, and it's like, you don't want people to judge you based on what you like, because everybody does it, you know? They're like, oh, interesting, we like this song. But I also do think that music does say a lot about, and the kind of music you listen to can say or does say a lot about who you are and maybe what you think about the world. Or and I don't know, I love, like, for me, like, to scroll through someone's old iPod is to, like, almost look at their diary.
It is kind of like
that. That's how I like, it's interesting to, like, have other people look at, like, who you save. I think I've, like, calmed down a little bit about that. Like, I let people, like, go. I don't know if I've ever freaked out, but I like thinking about people and, like, looking at my iPod playlist. I think now I'm like, oh, whatever, they'll see whatever I listen to.
Yeah.
But before, I feel like I had some, like, oh, they're gonna,
I'm scared.
what are they gonna think, you know?
Yeah.
But,
do you like me?
Do you like me?
Yeah. I go through waves of listening to stuff where I'm like, I really hope no one ever knows that I'm listening to this. But then, I don't know, I've been kind of listening to a lot of different things recently. I've been trying to get out of the same rotation, so I'm just kind of listening to anything that I can listen to. Listening to the taste breakers, just whatever. Listening to what people have to say, what they like. I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna listen to that.
I think that's a good thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Is just be open to what other people have to say. I kind of got lost. I feel like I got a little distracted in my head for a second. So
did you black out?
I did black out for a second. It was.
It's okay.
I don't even know what I was.
Popcorn.
If you haven't heard the muffle.
Yeah, if you've been wondering what this noise is.
What I think is crazy about this is, like, we're literally talking to no one right now. We're talking to my microphone. But, like, what amazes me is how many people can watch an Instagram story instantly.
Yeah.
Like, it blows my mind that we can broadcast, like, going back to, like, musical recording history, like, there were very, small spaces where you could hear certain things, and now you can hear everything everywhere.
It's
like,
kind of like, that
blows my
is
mind.
stressful and amazing. Not stressful. It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
And it kind of takes away from, like, the charm of it, in a way. Of like, with an artist or whatever. It's like, before, it's like you wouldn't know anything about them besides what you've, like, heard, or just crazy things that they decide to put out in the world, or, like, just, they were not accessible at all times. It's like the fact that everyone is accessible, it's amazing, and it makes them definitely, like, more human. But I guess I also don't know. I think it kind of, like, makes it an untouchable thing as well. But I think before, when there was more mystery, it was a lot more exciting, more romantic.
And I think also it allowed for maybe some, I don't know how well I can speak to this, but it just makes me think of, like, maybe just privacy about things and the information people feel kind of entitled to about musicians. I find interesting because it's like, this is still their job, and yet people want to know everything.
Yeah.
Like, you don't go to your doctor and be like, tell me all about your personal life and everything that's ever inspired you. Like, you go and you get your checkup and you leave. Whereas, like, when it comes to, you playing a show and afterwards people want to talk to you and they want to pick your brain because you do such a fascinating thing and you do speak to people in a way that is, like, I don't know, like, it the thing about music is, like, it is very, you're sharing something very personal too, a lot of the time. And
definitely.
Yeah, the lines between job and, you know what I mean? Like, that's so blurry, and at least I like the way that I would, feel about it.
I agree with that. I mean, that's definitely a thing, and that's why when you go to when you go to see a show of a bigger band, you usually don't see them out selling their own merch.
Yeah. Because
it's probably overwhelming with the amount of people that are there. And I'm not bashing it, but showering them with compliments. And once people start saying the same thing over and over again, it gets really old. And, it's always lovely, and it really is wonderful that people are so interested in what is happening. But when you start, like, I don't know, could you imagine if, like, Beyonce went out and just...
Oh my God.
It would be...
She would be tackled and every limb would be
Yeah.
And like everyone would have pieces of her.
Yeah, and so it's like that where, I mean, she doesn't, she respects her fans, and she like goes out of her way, I think, to like, not to say like give people what they want, but like she goes out of her way to probably like connect with people on a more so real way, and she doesn't go to the merch because it would be a scary place.
And no one would ever get out of there because the line would just be insane. I mean, I'm sure that, well, I feel like, Beyonce concerts, they have like 20 merch booths set up, and it's,
oh yeah,
that's what amazes me about those things. And I'm like, how many people do Jay-Z and Beyonce employ? Like, how many people have jobs because Jay-Z and Beyonce are, the king and queen of the world? Like, it's pretty incredible. And like, even with when you were on tour, I don't want to insult anybody, but when you were on tour with Lord Huron, like, I know they're a big band and like they're pretty well known, but they're still like, they're not like Beyonce.
No,
but to see the production for them, like for a band that's like, it's not Beyonce, but it's not, nobody.
Right.
Like, to see that production was also like, holy wow.
Yeah,
like,
that's probably had a crew of like, let's see, 30 people or so.
Just like setting up and do you know if they ride on in a sleeper bus as well?
Yeah, so they had 2 tour buses and one
a semi truck, right?
Yeah, and a semi. So the semi had all of the production equipment and everything like that. And then with the amount of crew, they had the 2 buses. I don't know if both buses had trailers on them for the gear, but I mean, yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Be surprised.
Just like stuff that you just don't think about, and you're like, oh, I don't know. There's a line of like, do you really need all those people? But like at a certain point, I think you probably do. It gets easier or it gets harder and harder. So to have people there to help makes it easier.
Yeah, because there's a lot to think about, and I think especially, I don't know, it's at a certain level, like you really have to kind of mentally prepare for that too. Like I had never been to a big pop concert. I don't think ever actually. Hold on one second. Just like went into a weird. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'd never been to like a big pop concert.
Holy shit!
I'm just gonna break things until I saw Lord in Portland, and it was like it's funny because I'm like I'm sitting between. I went by myself, and I'm seated between a dad that with his 2 sons, his 2 like teenage sons. I'm next to the really tall teenage son, and then I'm next to like 3 probably like 16 or 17-year-old girls on my other side, and I'm just there like breaking it down, like dancing and they're both awkward on these sides, like not just kind of standing there and but it was just me because it was like a dream. Like I love her music, and like I think she's really righteous, and I feel like I like connect with her lyrics in a way, and but to see the production, like they had a little box that would float and dancers and stuff, but also with hers it was a pretty like stripped back performance. Like it was mostly just like colors and lights and the dancers, not so many. There weren't so many people because like most of her stuff is electronic, kind of already, not even instruments really.
She doesn't need a whole band.
So but it's also really cool with the choreographed stuff, I think, is like, because when you go to a show like that, when you go to Beyonce, when you go to Lord, when you go to like Taylor Swift, you're gonna get a performance out of it. Like it's not just, you're just gonna hear beautiful music. Like you're gonna get the boom, and it's like this, it's crazy and it's overwhelming, and it's like, it's just, it's this whole thing that I think people really don't realize sometimes, just like maybe they do, the wild like amount of people and that go into making something like that. And
I don't know. I don't know what people think. It shocks me sometimes.
Tell us what you think in the comments below.
And
make sure to subscribe.
Make sure to describe.
Make sure to describe your feelings as you watch this.
As you watch and subscribe
as
to
you watch.
Carolyn Maureen, the podcast queen. Podcast.
What a doozy. I love Liz Cooper. She is the best Cooper pooper out there. If you listened all the way through, thank you very much for taking the time to do so, to listen to the rambles and rants of Liz and Carolyn. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope maybe you got lost a couple times in the expansiveness of the universe. Who knows? But let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions on it. And if you're curious to hear more, if you got ideas, throw them my way. If you want to be on the show, because I'm sure you do. Anyways, this has been Carolyn Maureen, the podcast queen, signing off. Adios, amigos.
Podcast queen, if you know what I mean. I'm a podcast queen, if you know what I mean. I'm a podcast queen, if you know what I mean. We're a podcast queen. A podcast queen. I'm a podcast queen.